She's like the WB of dogs. I don't get the reference.
I don't get it.
Like, you know that like how the frog was only like he would only sing or whatever, like
Oh,
when
right. Yes.
yeah.
Welcome,
When
Patreon crew. Thank you so much for joining us for this post show. We are just talking about Lewitt, Caitlin, and Ellie's beautiful Vizsla dog. We talked about that.
We
The
did.
proper pronunciation.
Fabio.
We also talked about Fabio.
But their pup, Lewitt, is super hyped up on energy. Beautiful dog. Great trail runner. You throw the ball, it will get it within a split second and bring it back. But for us, we took care of her just for a split second pretty much on the weekend. But she was an angel. Like so
sleeping in the back of the
sleeping in the back of the
car.
car. And so Ellie was just saying that she's like the Warner Brothers frog, which now I get the reference. Hello, my lady. Hello, my darling. And then someone would look and it. That cartoon drove me crazy as a kid. I hated that cartoon because I was just like,
Don't hate
why
the
won't
dog
anyone
now.
capture like?
You're very upset right now.
Because that brought up a memory of my childhood where I was like, why?
Thanks, guys.
Why would a frog do that? Okay, so what questions do we have?
Welcome to the post show. As a reminder, if you guys have questions for Ellie, pop them into the chat room. I have a ton of them.
If you're new to the
pulled from
post
the-
show, the access to the chat room, you basically hover over this live stream, click over to the YouTube channel. There's a live chat there going on with our Patreon crew, and Kim has already pulled some questions aside. But let's go ahead and get to a couple of those.
Yeah, there's a question.
Hello, my lady. Hello, my dog.
We're super professional here, you
Yeah,
guys.
right.
A question for Caitlin from Miss CMR80. They asked, how difficult is it to keep track of yourself and your needs while pacing?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I think it is super, super easy to lose track. I think fortunately for me this time around, like Ellie was like really, you were like on it. Like you were like I said, like really on top of your pacing, and you kind of knew like when to eat, and you mostly just wanted me there for entertainment. So then that really wasn't so bad. But I think like leading into the whole day of crewing, like it's just like the day goes by, you think you're gonna have so much time to make food and like hang out and rest and get a nap, and like suddenly like it's your time to pace, and like I hadn't done like any of those things. So I realized like right before I was about to pace, I realized like I hadn't slept, I hadn't been eating anything, so I like quick made some food, like ate a bunch of Sour Patch Kids and some potatoes, and like so that was fine. But I think like in reference to I'm Tough pacing last year, that was part of the problem, because you're just putting so much energy into like making sure your runner is taken care of that it gets easy to forget about that stuff. But I think like it's super important that you're on top of it, because so whether you need to set a timer to remind yourself to eat or something, if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't really take care of your runner. So yeah,
that's one thing to always. I mean, we forget when we're crewing or pacing is to like eat and bring food that you can eat that's not.
And I actually
gels.
think Caitlin asked us during the day, have you guys been eating?
Yeah, she was very good about everyone taking care of everyone.
Yeah.
And we actually made a meal for the first time during a crew session. We're like, let's make food. We have 20 minutes. And the timing was actually pretty good on that.
Yeah, we all ate. We all had brought
cheese
our
and
own
bread.
food
Cheese
to
and
make,
bread.
we all had our own variations of cheese and bread. So like you guys had instant like mac and cheese, Mountain House mac and cheese. I was making grilled cheese, and Ben was making quesadillas.
It was great.
Like, what are you guys eating? Bread and cheese.
Bread and cheese. Bread and cheese.
Bread and cheese. Get some more questions, sorry.
Yeah, a question from Rod. Rod asked, what was Ellie's biggest surprise? So any surprises during the race?
Oh, having legs at mile 90, whatever. Absolutely. That and how steep the needles are. I thought they would be way less steep, but it's like you get to, even before Thorpe, there's a couple climbs where I remember looking back at Ben and being like, dude, are you freaking kidding me? Like, what is this? It's like,
yeah.
I mean, so again, I was using the two poles, and they were just like, when I'd place them up, they were like going up by my head. Like, that's how steep it was. That was surprising. Like, I really thought it would be a little bit less vert, but
what I love is that the race always says, all right, be careful. The needles are really steep. They're short, but they're steep. So just save some energy. And everyone's like, how many needles are there? Like, how many actual climbs are there? And the most common response is, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Because no one has the energy to count, because you get like through the third one, you go, oh, there's 3 of them. And then there's like another infinity version. Like,
Yeah.
So many. So no one actually has counted how many needles there are.
Yeah.
Question from Brian Sands. Brian asked question for both of you. Have you ever thought about doing any team ultras together, like Trans Rockies, PTL, etc.?
We've talked about it. Yeah.
We've actually, like, when we first got into, like, when we first started running too, that I had heard about some of these things like Trans Rockies, and like we talked about doing it. The biggest thing I think is like time to take a week up.
Sorry.
Come on.
I've been.
Can they hear that?
I don't think you can hear, but I just Rickrolled everybody. They can still hear your audio, but every once in a while I'll like jump in the Rickroll singing.
Oh boy. Yeah, I would love to do like a team thing.
Yeah.
We just like, most of those are like week long, or I mean, at least a lot of the ones I know of are stage races that are a full week thing, and so that gets tricky for work for both of us.
It would be hard because when we're pacing each other, it's like when you're a pacer, you're like, it doesn't matter how your day is going, it matters how your runner's day is going. And typically, like, your runner's already like 50 miles or 80 miles or whatever into a race, so you're like, it's fine, I'll just have an easy run. I feel like if we were to do an event together, like, we're like, you're like way up here running and I'm like down here, and that gap would be interesting if we were to actually have a race where we're like running together.
Yeah, racing. I think like maybe we do a lot of like long adventure, like stupid, like mountaineering type things together. And those kinds of things we play off each other really well. I think if we did a team race thing, I feel like if we found something that put us both out of our comfort zone in a different way, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that I would do an orienteering thing, but like something like that, or something that like
Trans Rockies 3-legged race.
Or
that. Yes.
I think it could be fun.
Trans Rockies 3-legged race would be miserable. Having to climb up Hope Pass and stuff with that third leg. Come on. Only 2,000 more feet to go. Sorry.
I'm signing us up. Question from Matt. Cool. Matt asks, Ellie and Caitlin, how often do you guys train together?
I'd say this last year we've, like, especially with Lewitt and stuff, like, we've been not running as much together. We're just different schedules a little bit. But typically, like, most days, like, one of us is getting the other one out the door at like 5:30, 6 in the morning to go for a run before work. Or when we get home, like 6 or 7 p.m., just like, we have to do it. Let's put in the hour. Let's just go. Like, we are each other's motivation and push a lot of the time. And then weekends, like, of course, like, it's really, like, we're really fortunate to have each other as like our adventure buddies. So I'd say like, I don't know, like 70% of our runs.
We do a lot of runs together. And it, like, just to add something to the motivation thing, like, yes, it definitely helps having a significant other who's into running, who can help push you. But at the same time, it's also really easy for both of you to be like comfy and lazy in bed and decide to not get up. And like, I think that's actually something that we've had a bigger issue with, like, more lately. And so the times we're really good at it is like when one of us is like we're in like one of our, I like, definitely for me, like before Western States, I'm like, I have a limited amount of time to train. If I don't get my run in this morning, I know I won't be able to run later today. So like, I have to get up. So then I would like force Ellie to get up so he could run with me. But it's like those kinds of times, it's really easy to get it in. But yeah, if we're not both like actively really hardcore training, then we tend to just like sleep in.
I feel like we can relate.
So that really sucks too.
I mean, I feel like that's any couple who likes to go outdoors and do that sort of thing. We can relate. Like the last couple of weeks with the smoke in the air, every day we'd go like, man, should we even do anything? Should we just watch Netflix?
We should probably just watch The Bachelorette.
Should we just watch The Bachelor, Bachelorette?
I've been like addicted to that lately, and I got Ellie on the train too. So now like we've like wasted a lot of time.
Hey, as long as 25 years from now, you look back and go, man, I'm so glad I spent the time watching The Bachelor.
Yes.
Let's get to one more question and then we'll...
Question from Ladia. Ladia asked, Ellie, you've crewed, you've paced, you've been crewed, you've had pacers. What would you say is the single most important thing a crew and or pacer can do for their runner?
P.S.
You rock.
Thanks, Ladia. Ladia's awesome and is also crewed and paced, and
Yes.
she's been the badass behind Caitlin's super strong finishes. Also,
pacer.
yeah, also just total badass in her own right. Man, most important thing a crew / pacer could do. Be honest with your runner, I think. Across everything from like, dude, you're hurting, like stop, which I think is probably I have not had to do that, but I imagine that's probably really difficult for someone to do. But I'm thinking back to I'm Tough, like if you guys had really stopped and been like, hey, there's a chance you might not be able to run for the next 3 months because this is really screwing up your leg. Like this is not worth it. Like really, let's have that conversation. Again, I'm glad I finished, but like that's an important thing for a crew to do. And also to be like, dude, you look like crap, but let's keep pushing, you know, like those kind of honest moments and just having a good time. And I think that stuff is super important. Like, I think if you're being super rosy and like not really giving the real picture to your runner, then if stuff really hits the fan later, like that drop could be much worse if you're not already prepping for it and trying to work to solve those problems. And a crew can help identify what things to solve and remember to do and to work through before a runner can, just because you're more even keeled because you're not that many miles into a race.
Awesome. Yeah, there's that fine line between being truthful and the last thing you don't want to be a downer, right? You don't want to be the one that's like, oh man, maybe we should just like quit. Like that. I don't think that's not what you're talking about. I know that. Yeah.
It's more just like being able to look kind of ahead to help problem solve, right?
Yeah.
Because especially these longer races, it's like, yes, it's running, it's eating, but it's a lot of problem solving because things hurt and are broken and suck the entire time. And really you're just figuring out how to work through it while you're still moving along.
Yeah.
Right.
It's hard though as a crew. It's hard as a crew or a pacer to like really know how your runner's feeling though, because there's also a lot of like, that someone's going to be feeling crappy because they've been running for 20 hours, right? Like, so it's hard to, without being in their own body, like to know like, okay, how does this really feel? When you say it hurts, like, what does that mean? Like, are you just complaining or like, are you actually injured? And so I think like, that's where having a good communication between the runner and the crew is really important, because if the runner isn't really saying that stuff in the right way, or if the runner is always complaining about things, and then you're like, well, you're just complaining again.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Which is why Gerb and Grump.
There was that hashtag Team Gerb and Grump, which I thought was hilarious. Honestly, both of you guys are just such wonderful people. It's awesome to be around you in a race environment because you're both so pro and you're experienced, and it's refreshing, and it was also just a pleasure to be able to help and crew, and you guys are great friends.
And I got to wear a cheese tie.
Check out some of the pictures on the Cascade Crest Instagram or Caitlin's Instagram. There's some great story elements too. Kim's wearing a cheese tie. Caitlin's wearing a cheese crown. Ben's wearing a cheese top hat.
But also Ellie didn't notice till like right before you're ready to leave.
Oh, hey, nice tie. Okay, bye. You guys are fantastic. Thank you for taking the time to join us tonight on the show and talk all about it.
Thanks for crewing.
Yeah.
No
Thanks,
problem.
guys. Thanks for having us. Thanks for crewing. You guys made this weekend amazing. So thank you.
You got it. And thank you so much, Patreon crew, for the support at all levels. We very much appreciate it. We love being able to do this full time, doing the live shows and the reviews and the films and everything like that. So Dave Mackey coming on is going to be amazing. Tomorrow, I'll keep you all posted about that. We just surpassed 1,600 Patreon supporters of all levels. So that is a milestone. There will be new art. I'm very excited about this. So when we basically said once we've reached 1,600 Patreon subscribers, I was going to create new art. And there's already been 2 art pieces that we've created in the last couple of years. This is going to be the 3rd piece. It'll be new. It'll be inspired by all of you. I'm very excited to get started to work on that. It'll be really neat. So we'll do like poster sizes, smaller versions for various levels. But basically, everyone's going to get a piece of art that is created and inspired by running, the trails, the people, the stories. And it's been really cool. You can go back into the archives on Patreon and see some of the old art that we created. But it's all done right here. It's done by these hands. And from my brain.
And luckily not these hands.
But maybe this time. Maybe Kim. Thank you, everyone. I am going to say goodnight and rickroll you. Have a great week. We'll see you tomorrow.
Never gonna give him up, never gonna let him down, never gonna run around and desert him, never gonna let him down, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna